Today, we are going to use AI to get as jacked as possible. Or is it actually going to give us not very good fitness advice? Well, you can find out in today's video. And if you hear some squeaking in the background, it's because my dog Ragnar is playing with a squeaky toy and I can't take his toy from him. So first off, let's ask ChatGPT how to get jacked. To get jacked, you will likely need to engage in a combination of resistance training and calorie-controlled diet. First off, I really like how it knows what I mean when I say get jacked, but it is important to consult a physician before starting any new exercise or diet program. Not sure I agree with that. And to work with a qualified trainer. I somewhat agree with that. I think working with a trainer like myself will definitely improve your results. And it says to develop a safe and effective workout plan. Additionally, consistency, patience, and persistence are all key in achieving your fitness goals. So generally, I agree. You need to lift weights. You're probably going to have to calorie control your diet to some degree, and you're going to need some consistency, patience, and persistence. So far, pretty solid job. But let's now ask, what are your 5 best muscle growth tips? So let's see what it has for muscle growth. And I like that it starts off with number 1, progressive overload. Continuously increasing the weight or resistance used in your exercises is key for stimulating muscle growth. So I actually disagree with this. And I think that this is a very common misconception with what progressive overload actually is. And a lot of people think progressive overload means that you need to do more and more every single week to keep stimulating growth, when in reality, progressive overload is the idea of needing to do more in the gym or more total training stress as you adapt and as you make adaptations. So progressive overload isn't actually what's stimulating your progress. Progressive overload is actually what you need to do to just make sure your training stays hard once you've already progressed. And I think that this way of thinking about it is a little bit better because it prevents you from thinking you need to add weight or add load or add something every single week. And that's just going to be unsustainable. And it can lead to you just doing things like throwing your form out of the window because you think that you need to keep adding weight every single week, and it can lead to these not so good habits. So yes, you do need to increase your training stress over time, but it should be on a time course related to your adaptations. And since muscle growth takes a long time to occur, I don't think you need to go in the gym every single week thinking you need to increase your weight and stuff like that. And I think that it's usually best to just use progressive overload as a way to make sure your training stays hard and to, do more over the course of several weeks and several months rather than think you need to do it every single week. All right. So I agree with it, but I would just explain it a little bit differently. Number 2, adequate protein intake. Consuming enough protein is essential for muscle repair and growth. Aim for at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. I think that this is actually really good, and I think that is a good rule of thumb. I generally recommend 1 gram per pound just for the sake of simplicity, but 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is still sufficient, and I wouldn't expect any different results with that compared to 1 gram. So I think that this is also a good tip. Number 3, proper rest and recovery. Getting enough sleep and allowing sufficient time for muscle recovery between workouts is crucial for muscle growth. And I actually really like that they included this. I think that often people think about what they should do from a training perspective and what they should do from a nutritional perspective for muscle growth, but they don't actually think about what they should do from a rest and recovery standpoint. And I think that making sure your sleep is dialed in, managing stress the best you can throughout the day, these things are also going to be a very large component of your results in the gym. And I think that if you're super stressed in life, you're not sleeping very well, you could have the most optimal training and nutrition plan for muscle growth, but you won't see those results because those other areas aren't locked in. So I think that this is also a really good tip. And I think generally getting like 7+ hours of sleep per night and having good sleep hygiene and doing your best from that standpoint can really help there. Number 4, variety in exercises. Mixing up your workout routine and targeting different muscle groups can lead to better overall muscle development. So yes and no. I would say I wouldn't just like willy-nilly mix up your workout routine, as like muscle confusion is like a complete myth. Yeah, there can be some benefits to adding some novelty in your training, in which it can just be a novel stimulus that can lead to muscle growth, but I think it should be structured and planned for. And I don't think that you should just like mix up your workout routine for the sake of mixing it up. And like it does mention that targeting different muscle groups leads to overall better muscle development, which is definitely true. But I don't think that means you need to mix up your program. I think those are two separate things. And I think that generally you should develop a program that trains your entire body. If you're looking for full body muscle growth, trains your body in a variety of different planes. So like a horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull, a squat pattern, a hip hinge pattern like an RDL or deadlift. I think working in those different planes is going to lead to overall full body muscle growth. And as long as you have some exercises that kind of hit your muscles in those ways, then you're pretty well set there, and you don't need to just like keep mixing it up after that fact. And I think that a mistake is actually to like do a different workout every single week, as it's really hard to track progress that way and know if your training program's effective, and to actually adjust your program based on how you're responding. So I think a better approach here is like, yes, use a variety of exercises that train your muscle groups fully in the different planes that I talked about, but also stick to that workout plan for several weeks in a row. See how you're responding to it and adjust accordingly. Like, are you getting really sore and you have soreness from one session to the next and it's affecting your performance? If yes, the answer is probably to do a bit less, and that would be a good adjustment there. But if you're noticing no soreness or fatigue, you're not really seeing any increases in performance, you're not really getting good pumps in your training. If that's the case, it sounds like maybe you're not doing enough, and maybe you should do a little bit more. So I would adjust this tip a little bit, but overall, to be charitable here, I think you should do like a variety of exercises to fully develop all muscle groups. I just wouldn't like mix things up week after week for no specific reason. Number 5, consistency. Yeah. So overall, consistency is definitely key, and you're going to have to be consistent to get results. So overall, I think there's really solid tips here. And I think if there was one I would swap out, it would be maybe number 4 there. And I might switch it to have like an appropriate training volume, and to make sure that you're doing enough hard sets per muscle per week and training a muscle at least twice per week. But overall, like this is pretty solid. But let's kind of end with here. Let's see what it says when I ask it to generate an optimal workout program for muscle growth. And let's see how it does here. So an example of an optimal program for muscle growth would include a combination of compound exercises and isolation exercises. This program would also include a variety of rep ranges in the 8 to 20 rep range, a different set schemes, 3 sets of 8 to 12, 4 sets of 12 to 15, 5 sets of 15 to 20. Here's an example of a full body workout program that could be done 3 times per week. And then it kind of goes through a different full body program here. And yeah, it looks like it uses a variety of compound lifts, and it looks like it just has these same 5 exercises 3 times per week. And it says it's important to note that it's always a good idea to consult a physician before starting exercise, and to work with a qualified trainer to help you tailor your program to your individual needs. And I would totally agree with that portion of it. And overall for this program, like I would say it's not terrible, but I definitely wouldn't do this program for maximum muscle development. Like it's just squat, deadlift, bench press, standing military press, and barbell rows repeated 3 times a week, which generally speaking, do I think you would grow some muscle here? Yeah, I do. I think a good starting place for your volume when it comes to muscle growth is about 10 hard sets per muscle per week. So like it has you doing bench press here 3 times a week, 4 sets each. So that gets you to about 12 sets for your chest. And you're also getting some tricep development in there as well when you're bench pressing. Standing military press, you're hitting your delts with 9 sets a week here. Barbell rows, hitting your back with 9 sets per week. Deadlift is going to hit your back, and here's your hip hinge movement that you have here. And then you also have squats for about 12 sets per week. So Generally, I think that you would grow some muscle doing this, but I think that it contradicted itself here in which it recommended doing a variety of compound and isolation movements, but it just gave us compound movements here. So I think that this could definitely be adjusted to have some extra work in here for like direct bicep and tricep work, maybe some work on those calves and kind of different things like that. But generally, like if this was just a beginner starter program for the first 6 months to kind of learn these basic movements and to build a little bit of muscle, I think it would be a fine starting place. But I would definitely, for someone serious about building muscle and a little bit more in those intermediate and advanced stages, I would definitely want to see a little bit more tailored work here towards someone's goals. So overall, I think ChatGPT did a pretty good job here of giving some good tips and a general okay starting place for a workout program here. But I definitely think that there's like a lot of context missing here, and a more tailored workout plan would definitely be better. And I think that this is true for any workout program that you get off the internet. Like I think that any free like template or anything like that, it's going to miss context of an individual person's needs and like what's important to them, what exercises do they like or dislike, how many days per week they have to train, and all those sorts of things that lead to a better or worse program for someone. And I think that this is where learning these principles on your own of progressive overload, specificity, fatigue management, how much volume you should do, how often you should train a muscle, all these things, if you learn them on your own, you can create your own tailored program to yourself. But if you're not super familiar with those principles and concepts, then getting a coach that probably is going to lead to, for one, learning a ton of how this stuff works, and then also just getting better results overall. So not a super bad job by ChatGPT, but I would definitely adjust a few things.